Syngenta Crop Protection Canada and C&M Seeds present the Wheat School on realagriculture.com.
Given the weather conditions that we've had here in Alberta, we've had a lot of moisture in June and in July. Those are conditions that are ideal for Fusarium head blight, both in terms of production of inoculum for the particular pathogen that we're most concerned about, Fusarium graminearum, so production of inoculum from infested crop residues, and then in terms of actual head infection of the cereal head. Flowering in wheat is the key time for infection. Barley, it's really any time from head emergence through to crop maturity. The issues to look at, the risk factors there, are previous history with Fusarium head blight, and that's going to be an issue in southern Alberta in many areas, especially under irrigation, and where fields are growing either in rotation or adjacent to cornfields where we see a fair bit of Fusarium graminearum becoming established. So previous history, so you know you have inoculum in the field. The next would be the cultivar that you're growing, and certainly if it's a susceptible variety, that'll elevate your risk, and especially a susceptible class like durum wheat. The other aspect is the weather conditions, and again, you need humid conditions to promote production of spores in the crop residue. You have release of spores, and those will land on the cereal head. So you need moisture in terms of high relative humidity above 90% or actual wetness on the plant tissue itself from rainfall to actually promote conditions where the spores germinate and infect the heads and colonize the heads, resulting in Fusarium damaged kernels and mycotoxin contamination. The other interesting aspect of the environment is that in southern Alberta, or the Outlook Irrigation District area of Saskatchewan, producers actually may have the opportunity to modify the environment and look at cutting back a bit on irrigation. We've seen in some of our research and some anecdotal evidence from producer fields that keeping that irrigation on and using high rates of irrigation or high amounts of irrigation from about late June through to early August really elevate the risk of Fusarium head blight in irrigated wheat in southern Alberta. So if you can try and cut back on that irrigation, maybe top things up before the crop gets into heading, let it stay dry as it's flowering, and then turn the water back on maybe a week or two after flowering, if possible. Obviously that may not be possible given soil texture and moisture conditions. The other thing is you can look at combining that with fungicide application, good variety in terms of something that's less susceptible, and combining factors have a much bigger impact. There's a synergy there between crop rotation, variety choice, fungicide use, and I suspect we'll see that carrying on in terms of irrigation management. And so a combination of factors are going to help, maybe not eliminate the problem, but greatly reduce it.
What about control measures and timing? What should we be considering?
In terms of crop planning, crop rotation, certainly at least 2 years between cereal crops, avoiding corn or cereals in rotation with corn, being cognizant of what's happening in adjacent fields. So if you've had an issue in an adjacent field or a neighbor's had an issue, that is a risk factor for you. But in terms of choosing a more resistant variety, certainly if they're available. But in crop, the best options are to look at fungicide application, and especially in wheat, you're looking at around anthesis or flowering, and you're wanting to use some of the technology, perhaps the angled nozzles, maybe slightly higher water volumes. So you want to get good coverage of that cereal head. And again, the key time seems to be around flowering as far as cereals and trying to suppress the amount of Fusarium head blight.
All right, thanks a lot.